You are now listening to the fastest show on IU Sports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you, taking a lap extra mile for today, May 5th, 2025. And may the revenge of the Sith be among ye all. Joey Logano finally got off the schneid at Texas, while Palou continues his string of domination in Birmingham, while Oscar Piastri pressed the advantage in Miami. And we'll talk about this with my co-hosts. Just me tonight. We'll get started with the show on the other side of this break. You're in the Extra Mile on IU Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all. As sports, sit tight. Be right back after this.
For the last 10 years, IU Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IU Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iusportsradio.com. At iusportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IU Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IU Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IU Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Mike Patton to talk about on Let's Whine About DMV Sports, and a little bit of it is actually good, as the NFL draft is heading to Washington in 2027, also our pretty new football stadium we're going to be getting in 2030, so make sure you check that show out. Oh, wrong button. So we're back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Again, I am riding solo this evening. Jen has a home emergency, so we will see her next time out. And we'll get started with the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix that was held on Sunday. And the winner of that race, well, stop me if you heard this one already, Alex Palou absolutely dominates from the pole, leads 81 of the 90 laps during the race. However, it was not the snooze fest that the score sheet would have you believe. There was a lot of movement up and down the podium, up and down the midfield. That did not have to do with Alex Palou leading the race, with Christian Lundgaard, who at one point was 14th. He came into pit on lap, as I consult my notes here, he came into pit with Dixon and Malukas on lap 39, and Lundgaard cut his way through the field from 14th and made some really impressive passes, including an outside line pass that became the inside line heading into the final corner at Barber Motorsports Park. Gets the inside of McLaughlin, takes away 12th, the pass of the race. And Lundgaard ended up storming his way up to second in the podium on Sunday. And Christian Lundgaard is an interesting driver. McLaren went out and got him in exchange for Alex Rossi during the free agency period. During the free agency period that happened at the end of last season. They end up putting him in the car, get Alex Rossi out, and Lundgaard has been impressive so far. He's been showing a lot of speed that should have earned him an F1 spot, but that's for a lot of drivers. And unfortunately, there's only 20 spots there, and there's a lot more in IndyCar. So he comes over with McLaren and just put on an awesome show. And he started in the 7th position, got his way up to second. Scott McLaughlin was in 3rd to round out the podium. And McLaughlin, that's got to feel good for a guy that is a previous winner here. But as we've talked about on the show, it has been a struggle for Penske to get the wheels going. But as we're coming into May in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and they need to look good at the captain's place, those teams turned it on, at least in Birmingham on the road course, where Scott McLaughlin led 3 laps. Started second, finished in the 3rd spot. Will Power 5th. Joseph Newgarden in 10th. So all 3 cars in the top 10. And that's a good sign for Penske, a team that they have struggled this year. They have not had the consistency, particularly Will Power, who has been nowhere to start the season. Joseph Newgarden also been on the struggle bus a little bit this year. He did start 9th, though, but ended up falling back a position, which is a tough deal to see for him, but they didn't get the strategy and didn't get the cautions that they needed. In fact, they didn't get any cautions, and that was a story during the race, because after the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix, IndyCar has eclipsed 300 straight laps of green flag action. Their only caution this year was lap 1 at St. Petersburg. And funnily enough, that has caused controversy. People are upset that we have not had a lot of cautions. Sounds a bit NASCAR to me, I'm going to be honest. I hope we don't start seeing some phantom debris cautions showing up at IndyCar. But the conversation has come up because some of the races have been, I'll admit it, pretty average. Thermal Club, we talked about that race earlier this year. That track is just not set up for professional racing. It's a club track trying to host a professional racing series, and it shows. And then you get to the Long Beach, the Grand Prix of St. Pete. That's a street course. You don't usually see a lot of passing on street courses, and that bore out during this race as well. And then you get to Birmingham. This is an interesting little road course. I actually got to see it in person in 2021 when I went to see the Battle for the Southern Cup in H1 Unlimited. It is a beautiful and flowing road course. They also have motorcycles there as well, which is its main claim to fame, but it's also hosted IndyCar, hosted Grand Am races in the past, back when that was a thing. And sometimes it puts on great races. And this was a race, again, outside of Alex Palou, where you saw a lot of movement up and down the line. Kyle Kirkwood, unfortunately, his top 10 streak ended at 11th, but he came from the 18th spot. Scott Dixon came from the back of the field to 12th. Alexander Rossi came from 15th to 8th. So there was movement up and down the grid, and all 27 cars, despite the conversation that we've had over the hybrid system, finished the race running. It was, I would say, despite even Tony Kanaan, who works for McLaren, called the race boring, I would say I think we were all watching a different race, because in my opinion, the on-track product was great. We just did not have a situation where the yellow flag was needed. We almost had one where a car got into the grass off the final corners and kicked onto the front straightaway. The driver was able to continue. Do not remember who that was. Let me see if I have that in my notes. I don't remember who that was, but the race ended up going mean and green. And we're coming into the Indianapolis road course race, which is certainly one of the races of all time. To be honest, this is just an undue distraction to keep us from the real race, which is the Indy 500 weekend. So, as we get a thunderclap here in Maryland, I do believe that we will see probably more green flag racing in Indy, depending on what happens at turn 1 and 2, because it is really tight to try to get 27 Indy cars into that right-hander on the Indianapolis road course. So we could probably see our first caution and a couple of cautions at that during this race at the trouble spot that is turn 1. But I don't think we need to start making a lot of rash changes or bringing in stages for IndyCar. I think the racing was just fine as it is. But hey, if you disagree, make sure to get your comment in during the show. And if you're listening to the re-air, at DK Jr. 12 on Twitter and on Blue Sky. Still haven't gotten down my Blue Sky name by heart, so I'm going to have to wait a little bit to get that name. Speeder68, that's SPEEDR 68.bsky.social. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it as we get ready to start the greatest sporting month for IndyCar and probably American motorsports. That is the month of May and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Unfortunately, we do start with that road course race. Glenn Ritter, good to see you. This has a great show, Darryl. Thank you so much. We get ready for the month of May, and that is the Indianapolis 500. We do have the road course race this Saturday, though, to start the weekend. And then on Monday, we have the Sonoso Grand Prix on Saturday. That is 4:30. You can watch that race on Fox. And then on Monday, we put the cars into oval configuration, and the first practice for the Indy 500 begins. All the coverage will be on Fox and FS1 and FS2 during the day. I have a TV at work to the right in my office. It will be on IndyCar practice all week long. I will try to get my work done as best as possible, but we're getting ready to see the fastest 33 take to the famous yard of bricks. And one of the stories we'll be watching during that race is Kyle Larson, and can he not only do the double, because we did have the weather last year, can he win the Indy 500 as a NASCAR driver? His month of May did not get off to a good start with testing with McLaren in April. We talked about that in a previous episode. They had some engine issues with that car, and then he had the crash on day 2 of testing that really set them back. But you wipe the slate clean, and now it's a week straight of practice, getting that car ready in race trim Friday before qualifying next week. So I can get my calendar to come back up. Thank you. Friday the 16th, we will have Fast Friday, getting ready for qualifying. And then Saturday, May 17th, and Sunday, May 18th, the most stressful 2 days of qualifying you will ever see. There are no spots that are locked in for the Indy 500. It's the fastest 33 or you are going home. And we sorely miss that in motorsports with provisionals and charters and all that comes with that. When it comes to NASCAR, we don't see a lot of drivers not making the field anymore at all, unless it's the Daytona 500. Formula One is its whole other thing that we're not even going to talk about. But Indy 500 is the fastest 33. No excuses. And we're going to see who will be the fastest 33 on May 18th. They'll have one last full day of practice on the 19th, Carburation Day on May 23rd, and May 25th, the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. I can't wait. Greatest race ever. It is the greatest spectacle in racing. Joseph Newgarden going for 3 straight. Penske going for 3 straight. And a track that team has dominated. And we can't wait. And no, you can't either. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into NASCAR and the Worth 400 and Texas Motor Speedway. What have they done to you and what are they going to do with you? And later on, the Formula One World Championship firmly in the hands of an Aussie. Talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide for your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports,
because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Hey, gotta get funky when Seal the Deal Wax Seals comes on. Hey, everybody, it's Darryl Kinsey Jr. Ryan Solo here on the Extra Mile. We are back for segment number 2, and it's time to get into the stock cars with the Worth 400. And Joey Logano gets off the schneid for what has been a championship battle to forget, or championship title defense to forget for Logano. It has been a season, if you look at the standings, where you almost forget he won the championship, as Joey had 1 top 5, 2 top 10s coming into the start of this season, 2 DNFs to go along with that as well. And on Sunday, he ends up picking up the win, outdueling Michael McDowell, who made a bold call at the end of that race to run 2 tires for the majority, or with a 2-tire stop, ran about 50 laps on those left side tires where they finally gave up the ghost. McDowell ended up getting into the wall, finishing well down the order in what ended up being a terrible day for Spire Motorsports, as they had 2 cars start up in the top 5 and had nothing to show for it at the end. Carson Hocevar ended up finishing 24th. After a crash, Michael McDowell was 26th and out of the race in a Worth 400 that saw a lot of attrition. Ryan Priest, Cody Ware, Jesse Love all caught up in accidents. Josh Berry was actually leading the race when his car stepped out and crashed. He was behind the wall for a while before they got that car back out. Bubba Wallace, they had just got that car fixed. He was in the top 5, came out of turn number 2, just the trouble spot all day long, got the wall, then got Joey Logano'd, and ended up causing a 6-car collision. Bubba did not get the finish he deserved out of that race, finishing in 33rd. Noah Gregson, Alex Bowman, AJ Allmendinger, Chad Finjamin, Denny Hamlin with the most explosive engine failure we have seen in NASCAR in quite some time. According to Harvick and Boyer, the oil pan ended up failing on the 11th car, which caused a spectacular fireball. TRD's got some issues in the engine department because they have blown them up this year. And you throw in Ryan Blaney's spectacular engine failures earlier this year as well. We just don't see engine failures in NASCAR anymore with how toned down on power they are. those engine failures that we're used to see were really a thing of the past. And that can be either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on which side of the fence you reside on. However, this year, they're pushing those engines to the limit, and they are cracking. As we saw Hamlin's go up in smoke, Blaney's went up in smoke earlier this year. That could be a concern when we get to playoff time for those two drivers and for those manufacturers as well. But as we look at the race as a whole, I just don't know what to do about Texas Motor Speedway, folks. At one point, this used to be one of our best mile-and-a-half tracks. It was one of the races in the playoff, what is now the playoffs, that was pivotal in deciding who was going to win the championship. We saw Jimmy Johnson outduel Matt Kenseth here. We saw Brad Keselowski that picked up a win that would catapult him to a championship. We also saw Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski get into it, which started their rivalry. And then Eddie Gossage got into his head that he was going to reprofile the corners, and that kind of killed all the momentum that Texas Motor Speedway had as a racetrack. You look at it now, there's a rumor that they're going to get the Atlanta Motor Speedway treatment, or they're going to turn that track into basically a mile-and-a-half super speedway. Not really the fan of it. If you want to fix the track, put turn one back to what it used to be. You're going to have to take up the pavement to get the sticky stuff that you should have never put down to begin with on the racetrack. And if you're going to do anything to it, put the progressive banking that Miami has and give people a reason to run the top lane and get the top run back in again. It's just sad that, and this is why I don't get into the reactionary, knee-jerk, NASCAR needs to change anything conversations with fans, because sitting here in my 35 years of life, and it's weird to say that, I've seen NASCAR react to what fans say, make great changes, and it just makes things worse. People complain about the champion being decided in August. They made the playoffs. Well, now we hate that. They changed the format 4 different times. Now everybody hates the playoffs. People said that, they wanted less downforce. They took less downforce. They put less downforce on these cars with the new next-gen car because, well, actually, before we even get to that part, we had the 900, and I'm going to get on y'all real hard right now about this. We had the package y'all liked with the Gen 6 car, 800 horsepower. They were getting loose, 200 miles per hour at tracks like Atlanta, and you hated it because the cars were too spread out. We got here because you complained when we had the racing the way we liked it. They were too spread out on the track. So what did NASCAR do? They put the high downforce package in with the 570 motors so they would all stay close together. You hated that, and we all did. For some reason, they got into their head that they need to lower the horsepower to bring a fourth manufacturer. That is not coming at this point into the sport. They got the teams got them to relent to 670. They took all the downforce off the cars, but the problem is you're not spinning up the tires at the short track, so they're not good. We fixed the mile-and-a-halves. We hurt the short tracks. The super speedway racing got better because you don't have big ones, but you hate that because now they don't have the big ones. But however, when we had the package everybody liked, y'all hated that because drivers were making bad blocks and causing the big one. This is why NASCAR just shouldn't listen to the fans and go their own way. Because you get what you want, then you hate it. You get on social media, and we know they're paying attention to social media because they make all these changes. You whine and cry, you cry, you bully the Steves so bad, they leave Twitter entirely. So then NASCAR sees the fans revolting. They make changes in the complete opposite direction based on what you want, and then it ruins the racing because the change shouldn't have been made because NASCAR shouldn't be listening to the loudest voices in the room because they're always going to be negative. And now here we are. And I'm not trying to be the NASCAR apologist, but the fans in NASCAR have to share some culpability for what the sport has turned into. Because you've let the loudest voices whine and cry us into what we have now. And NASCAR won't make the changes because, well, we did it this way and the fans hated it. That's one of the reasons they're looking at things the way they are. How do we solve it? Let NASCAR... Here's how I would solve it, because I was talking to a friend in Discord about how to fix the problem with the Cup car, which I think the problem with the Cup car is very simple. You put 300 more horsepower on it, and you're fine. If you need to add that 300 horsepower via a hybrid system, do it. We don't got time to wait. Get these cars back to 900 horsepower however you need to. But if I was running NASCAR today, what I would do, first, I'm getting rid of the single source suppliers. We're going back to the teams are allowed to build their own things. I go to all the manufacturers. I say, this is what we're doing with the bodies. We're going to keep the bodies the way they are. We're going to allow you some more wiggle room on the underside of the car. You have till the end of this year to give us the body style you want to use for 2028. In 2026, I want every team to give me 2 drivers. If you've got 2 drivers. And Glenn says it best, just like any business, let the experts be the experts. Exactly right. Give me 2 drivers from each team. If you have a multi-car team, if you got 1 driver, that driver is coming for this. We're going to take these cars in 2026. We're going to take whatever we're going to do with the chassis. We're going to throw different combinations underneath at it. We're going to go to Charlotte. We're going to run the roll in the Speedway. We're going to go to North Wilkesboro to get our short track running in. And then we're either going to go to Atlanta or Daytona to get our super speedway running in. We're going to have a test every 2 weeks with these combinations. We're going to have a month's worth of testing at Charlotte in speedway configuration. We're going to have a month's worth of testing at Charlotte in the road course configuration. We'll do a month worth of testing at North Wilkesboro and at Daytona or Atlanta, which one, and we're just going to rotate that for a solid year. In 2027, we're going to bring the hybrid component. We're going to test that the same way. Minimum 20 cars. You get your single car running in the morning. We're doing all race runs in the afternoon and evening. We're going to run this car for 2 years straight. In 2028, whatever we come up with, working with the teams, working with the manufacturers, working with NASCAR, anything what we come up with is going to be what we run for 2028. And at that point, I don't want to hear the whining. Not on the podcast, not in the interviews, not in the booth, none of it. Because we had 2 years to work on this car. And any things that we needed to work on, we had 2 years to work on it. With a minimum of 20 cars on the racetrack. So I don't want to hear it. That's how you fix this car. But the main thing, like Glenn said, let the teams be the teams. Let them build their own suspension pieces. Let them build their own brakes. Let them go back to doing what they were doing best and keep the single source out of it. If you want to say, hey, these are the parts you want to use. If you don't want to build that stuff, fine. But you should have the ability to, the teams that want to build their own parts should have the ability to do it. Because right now, it's not working. And it's because, honestly, you've listened to the fans too much and the industry not enough. And I know the Matt Weavers of the world are not going to like that, but frankly, I don't care because you're part of the problem. You're part of the knee-jerk problem that has put us where we are. And you're going to have to share some culpability for that. Luckily enough, we are going to Kansas Motor Speedway this weekend, and that is really the house that 2311 has built in the next gen era. Tyler Reddick has a win there. Kurt Busch got a win there. Bubba Wallace should have 2 wins there. We know what happened in the first race a couple of years ago, where the 23 car came in 6th, ended up outside the top 10, rebounded for 10th, or sorry, for I think it was 10th place finish in that race. 9th or 10th, I can't remember now. It's been so long ago. Did rebound in that fall race, though, to win. That is a track where the Toyotas, particularly 2311, is going to be strong. Ford with Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, always good there. But last year, that absolutely perfecto finish in a year of banger finishes. That was a 2024 season. If people aren't talking a year, talking about how the current product sucks. You go out there and you watch Chris Buescher and Kyle Larson have the closest finish in NASCAR history. Unfortunately, that race cost Buescher a chance at the playoffs down the line, but it was so exciting. And Kansas, ever since they put the progressive banking on that track, it has put on some of the best, and it was good racing before then. It puts on some of the best racing in NASCAR right now, bar none. Gotta love Kansas Motor Speedway. Cannot wait to get back there this weekend. Now, as you look at the schedule, we will have the Advent Health 400 on Sunday. The Truck Series will also be there on the Saturday at 7:30. They'll be running a night race. And Xfinity, they're off until Charlotte on May 24th. So a nice break for the Xfinity Series. Wish the NASCAR Series could get that. But the Heart of Healthcare 200 for the trucks will be run on Saturday, May 10th. And the truck race, the Speedy Cash 250, that was on Friday. Corey Heim won that. A little bit of controversy on the caution before they went to overtime, where you had 3 trucks, 3 abreast down the backstretch when the caution came out. Raja Caruth, Ben Rhodes, and Corey Heim were side by side. It almost looked like Raja Caruth was in front. However, you look at the picture because of the angle, which admittedly was poor. Corey Heim is in front by a splitter blade. Heim ends up winning the race, and Corey continues a dominant stretch, 3rd win of the season, as he's looking to put a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series title in his trophy cabinet. We'll see how that runs for the rest of the season, but right now Heim is the dominant figure in that 11 truck. So we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll get into Formula One, where a certain Aussie is pressing his advantage in the championship, while another team, the best thing to come out of their race was their radios. Talk about that on the other side of this break. But before then, a shout out to Sovereignty that took the win over Journalism in the Kentucky Derby. Sovereignty will now run at the Preakness in 2 weeks to continue the run for the Triple Crown, to be the first horse since Justify to win all 3 races at 3 completely different lengths. Be watching that race. That race will be in Baltimore, Maryland in a couple of weeks. And Fletcher Cox, this was a story I was very excited for. You remember last week's show in PDRA Pro Street, gets to the semifinals. The former NFL superstar and Super Bowl champion got to the semifinals in Pro Street in his first ever professional drag race. He will be back in action in Norwalk. The winners of the PDRA Mid-Atlantic Showdown in Pro Nitrous were Marcus Butner, defeated Amber Denton. Butner 363 with a 9 at 208.55 miles per hour. That race was won off the tree as Denton 42 reaction time, 377 with a 2 at 189.95 miles per hour to the 8th mile in Professional Drag Racing Association racing. Marcus Butner, your winner in Pro Nitrous. In Pro Boost, Kurt Stedding got the win, a 7 on the tree, 361 with a 5 at 208.97 miles per hour for the win. Jason Harris, red lit, was 123 red, so not a good reaction for Harris at all. He ends up in the runner-up spot. In Extreme Pro Stock, Jeremy Huffman, a 42 at 485 at a 175.41 miles per hour, takes the win over Stephen Boone. Boone was just caught dead sleeping at the tree at a 77 at a 4.125 time, 169.44 miles per hour. Hey, Larry B, good to see you this evening. And your Pro Street winner, Ethan Stedding, takes down Blake Denton. Stedding won this race off the tree with a hole shot. Or no, it was not a hole shot. Sorry. A 16 off the reaction time, beats Blake Denton 64. Final laps time 394 with the 8 at 192.77 miles per hour for Ethan Stedding. Blake Denton, a 64 at 395 with the 8 at 195.96 miles per hour. The Professional Drag Racing Association will be back in action in Norwalk at the end of the month. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in action at the other side of this break. Here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
How we doing, sports fans? This is Christian Harvey, your host of Gritsville, USA, your go-to show for all things Detroit and Michigan here on IE Sports Radio. Whether you're here for Gritty Lions talk, getting pumped up for the great Detroit sports renaissance, or hating on your neighbor depending on if they were green or blue, we got you covered. Whether you're in the East, West, or Central, we got you covered. Join me as we tackle through all that the great state of Michigan has to offer in the world of sports. Catch me, Christian Harvey, each week on Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indie Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indie Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And Big Mike's got a lot coming down his pike coming up this week with IndyCar rolling into town at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, the Sonasa Grand Prix on Saturday, and then the greatest spectacle in motorsports, the Indianapolis 500, for the rest of the month. So we're going to have to do a collaboration show at some point, Big Mike and I, as we get ready for the Indy 500. Can't wait for this race. I'm going to keep saying it till it happens. Love the Indy 500, but hey, we're back here at the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. Larry B on the comments for the PDRA finals. That's fast, and yes, it is. They will actually be at MDIR in a couple of weeks. I'll have some video from that I should be able to show when we get into the program, when we get there in a couple of weeks. But for now, we're going to get into the Formula One Grand Prix of Miami, won by Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris was second. In the third straight win for McLaren and the Australian, as Piastri is really starting to put his hand as the dominant power in this championship. George Russell was third, by the way, but Piastri started fourth, got a great start, and just wore down Max Verstappen, who had some aggressive, we shall say, defenses on on Lando Norris, which ultimately cost them both the races. They started squabbling, and Piastri said, I'm going to get out to a 9-second lead now and just disappear from everyone. Larry B says, I'm jaw dropped, surprised to see McLaren do what they're doing. I'm not, because of the second half of the season, they have the best car. It was just Lando did not have that killer instinct to finish. But it looks like Oscar Piastri does this year, as we go to the driver standings, after 5 races in, Piastri has 131 points to Norris's 115. Max Verstappen with 99 points. It's starting to look like a 2-horse race between the McLaren-Mercedes duo. And there's just going to be more questions asked about Lando Norris and whether or not he can win a championship the more Oscar Piastri continues to dominate. And we will see if Norris can get back into this championship fight. But right now, him and Max are locked in a knockout, drag-out fight for second. And Norris showed some frustration with Verstappen's aggressive driving. What I would say about how Verstappen is driving is you can tell the frustration that he has in how he drives. He does not have a car that can compete without him dragging it up, and you can tell. He did qualify on the pole with a lap of the gods run, but he doesn't have the race pace to stay up there. And when Max doesn't have the race pace, the back of that Red Bull starts getting a little bit wider, and a little bit more contact starts getting made. And that is a problem when you're not allowing your competitors basically to finish the corner. And there's a fine line between defending and blocking. Max has been on the other side of it, but he hasn't had his hand slapped. In fact, the 5-second penalty, which, let's be honest, should have been a 10-second penalty at Saudi Arabia, was the first time where he really faced consequences for it. But he keeps doing it. And I don't think you're going to see him stop doing it until you see stronger penalties getting applied and penalty points as well, which is unfortunate. But you gotta love Max Verstappen, but that is one part of his game that has not changed. And that's great when you're winning, not great when it just seems like you're trying to, well, if I'm not going to win, you're not either, and put folks into the wall. Hopefully, Red Bull, if they are going to bring upgrades, are going to do something to make that car more competitive, because right now it is a distant third in the Formula One constructor standings. It was also not a good day for the rookies. In fact, only 2 of the rookies finished the race in Miami, with Antonelli finishing in the 6th spot. Isaac Hadjar finished 11th. Liam Lawson, Ollie Behrman, and Gabriel Bortolato all DNF'd. Those drivers were also running well down with no real chance of passing anyone. So those cars were actually, Behrman's car had an engine failure. Bortolato also had issues. Not really sure what happened to Liam Lawson. I think that was a self-retirement by the Racing Bull Toro Rosso. They're Toro Rosso, that's what I'm calling them. Jack Doohan went out during the opening lap of the race. Did not have a completed lap, and the rumors are swirling that Jack Doohan will not be in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. In fact, he will not be in the race ever at all, as Colampinto may get that seat going into the rest of the year, as Doohan has just not performed for Alpine, and it's not like they're doing great with the other car either. Pierre Gasly was 13th on Sunday and was the last car to finish on the lead lap, but Doohan has bent up some carbon fiber, and with the new regulations around the cost cap, you can't have a driver that is breaking up the race car, because that's money you can't spend, because you have to spend it rebuilding this car instead of preparing the car and getting upgrades, how many ever you're going to do with the changing of the regulations next year. You don't have the money to spend for this year's car. And that's a problem, as Jack has gotten into a couple of incidents. Liam Lawson also got into a strange incident between him and Fernando Alonso during the sprint race on Saturday. It's looking like Liam Lawson might be out of that car sooner than expected, as well, as folks thought going back to V-Carb would have his opportunity to get back to Red Bull, but it's looking like Liam Lawson might be looking for another seat in another series after this year, because his Formula One days might be numbered after he got absolutely no shot in that Red Bull this year, to be honest. And oh boy, Ferrari. Another bad day by their standards. They finished 7th and 8th, and their race was really characterized at the end where they put Lewis Hamilton on the mediums. Leclerc had the hards. Instead of letting Hamilton go immediately, they have him sit behind Leclerc for 3 laps. Then they finally swap the positions, but for some reason give Hamilton the order to keep Charles in DRS range, so he can't even use the tire advantage to chase down Kimi Antonelli. They end up switching the places back at the end of the race, and Lewis Hamilton, I don't think, is liking his Ferrari experience. And Larry, that's just how everybody feels right now. He was extremely sassy on the radio. He would have won the Radio Sweetheart Award if they had one in Formula One. So I'd definitely go check it out. At one point, Sainz was closing in, and Lewis just asked, do you want me to let him by too? We know the problem at Ferrari, and as Larry says, this is not Lewis's fault. It's not. It's neither driver's fault. A, the car's not there, and B, the strategy is just in the basement at Ferrari. And until they do a top-to-bottom refresh of who is in their department or who is giving the strategies in Ferrari, they are never going to be a successful team in this era. And I'm not sure what has to happen or what Fred has to do to get his people in there strategy-wise, but he's got to go to work and to get some actual people in there. Surprisingly, he said that Ferrari had a good day strategy-wise. I don't know what race he was watching because it did not look good from the fans' perspective. And for Ferrari, with everything they're getting ready for in 2026, there are no excuses from a team that, let's be honest, they are looking at like the bad parts of the Dallas Cowboys. You see Larry B's comment there. They are lacking big time right now. Look what happens to give Lewis a competitive car. Give him a fast car. He'll do the rest. This is all on Ferrari. I absolutely agree. This is all a Ferrari problem, a Ferrari team problem, and they've got to fix it with the car and fix it with the strategy as well. They're going to go anywhere and try to catch McLaren, which right now, they're the best of the best. So Formula One is off. They'll be back for another triple header starting May 16th through 18th in the Formula One AWS Gran Premio del Made in Italy e dell'Emilia Romagna 2025. Why is this race name so long? It should not be 3 lines, Formula One. Get it together. The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, May 16th through 18th. That'll be our first race in Italy and getting us started on the European stretch of races, which goes through Italy, Monaco, and Spain to start the first 3 races in Europe of 2025. Well, that will do it for this edition of the Extra Mile. It's been a great show. Thank you so much, everybody that joined us in the chat. Make sure to give IE Sports Radio a follow on Twitter, IG, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. There's all our names there on the bottom if you want to hear from us. And again, thank you to our sponsors, Seal the Deal, Wax Seals, Vital Apparel, and Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole nother planet. And I'm going to say goodbye for this evening as the checkered flag waves on this edition of the Extra Mile. Thank you so much for listening.